Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Integrated Entrepreneur. I am here with my co-host Keith. Keith, what's going on, big dog?
What's up, man? Happy flipping Monday. Another great start to a great week.
Yep, we always record on Monday. Not always, but for the most part, most of our recordings are on Monday, and you guys are just listening to it after the fact.
Yeah, so really it's like you know how our Mondays went based on our fucking excitement level when we come into this thing.
Yeah, you could tie in our what you perceive here is just the buildup of last week plus the weekend. So if we're in a good mood, last week must have been great.
No
And if
fire.
we're yeah, and if we're not, we're hiding it really fucking well.
Yeah. Yeah. The world's burning down around me and I still have a smile on my face.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's good,
Well,
man. How was the weekend?
I caught the flu, which I'm battling. I battled through today. Um, yeah, I rested all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Felt like a big bag of shit. Got nothing. Literally just slept.
Yep. Well,
How
that
about
is
you?
the body's way of telling an entrepreneur that your ass is going to be forced to sit down for a little bit and put some time in on that old rest button.
Yeah,
Um, so don't fight that because we all fight it. Oh, I got shit to do, but well, you ain't gonna do a
yep.
whole lot of shit from the hospital. So don't
Nope.
fuck around with that one.
No, you're right. We all
Um,
do it. And usually, when my wife comes in, taps me on the shoulder, and says it's enough, she only does that in extreme situations. This was one of them. Then I knew she was right. I had to listen. It happens to the best of us.
yeah, it's funny how they know us better than we know us, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
when you can't move an extra inch, but you're gonna try to. Yeah, definitely.
My weekend was good, dude. So I was, out of town last week speaking at some events. I was up in Philadelphia, and my wife called me on Tuesday and sent me a picture of this tortoise. And when I say tortoise, just to give the viewers an idea of this bitch belongs in the land before time. It doesn't belong in my backyard.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm so glad that you're doing this because I was gonna make you do it one way or the other. So, guys, I want you to understand the conversation Keith and I had. He sent me pictures, and I had to ask him about what he was posting because I didn't really think it was real. I thought he went to a petting zoo, but no. Keith,
no,
carry on.
yeah. So my wife has been following this tortoise on Instagram. I guess his name is Mister Tiptoes, and complete animal lover. Like in all aspects of the term animal lover is her. But so she sends me this picture and she's like, he's cute. And I said, yeah, he's cute. Well, that really meant for her was put him on the credit card, load his ass up in the car, and bring him home. Well, she brings him home in what you would envision a tub to that you would buy at Home Depot or some shit where you would cold plunge in it. It's a huge black tub.
Yep.
And so this thing was in my living room when I got home. Now I left Monday and I got home Saturday. So during the week, there's no one there to lift this gigantic dinosaur out of its bin to get it into the yard so it can eat grass and do what dinosaurs do. So in the midst of the operation, my wife has torn a rotator cuff or screwed up her neck or something to where I had to get her into Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. And so this long story short is this bitch is going to cost me, oh, I don't know, $100,000 in surgery, $4,000 a week in greens that we had to buy at the grocery store. And on Saturday, I built a enclosure, a 50 by 30 enclosure in my backyard so that this thing could roam around and do what dinosaurs do. It's fucked, dude. It's absolutely insane.
Can we
But
please? I need a picture so we can have it in the show notes because it like us talking about it doesn't do this any justice, and it should.
yeah, yeah, no, you have plenty to choose from. Believe me. So that was my weekend, man. And yesterday, kind of the same thing as you. I don't feel sick, but my body was just like, "Hey, tap out." So I
Yeah.
laid around all day yesterday and literally catnapped most of the day away, and which was shitty weather anyway, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
So here we are, man. Back at it. Tax season wrapping up. Business owners are flipping out, and yeah. So I don't know. I've got like 17, 18 meetings today, and probably 50 more throughout the rest of the week.
There you go.
So
And I'm sure you're going to get a couple people panicking from now until the end of next week saying, hey, I didn't account for
anything.
X amount of revenue, and I need you to help bury this.
Yeah, and if you don't, it's your fault, Keith. So figure it out. So,
Hey Keith,
but
remember that personal thing I said before we started recording?
yeah,
It's along
yeah. I
along
figured I
those
can smell
lines.
it. I can smell it. We'll figure it out. But
We
no, I
always
mean,
do.
life is good. It is what it is. This is just the ebbs and flows of business, and just with any business, everyone experiences a certain stretch of all hell, and this just
Yep.
happens to be my world right now.
Yeah,
So,
I
no
believe
good,
it.
man. What I thought we could talk about today, honestly, is like let's talk about acquisition of clientele, right? And I think we've heard it on this show before, but the hustler has to die for the CEO to emerge. And realistically, where does it all start, right? The hustler mentality starts with getting our first client,
Yep.
and that's ideally where we spend 90% of our capacity, mentally and emotionally, to make ends meet in
Yeah.
business. And there are probably a lot of people listening right now that can reflect and say, man, how much of my time is spent just stressing the fuck out about finding the next client and the constant chase and battle of that that operation.
Yeah.
So I was hoping just to dial in, throw 3 or 4 good ideas, outside the box thinking that folks could take and kind of implement in their business as it comes down to new client acquisition.
Yeah. Well,
So
I think it's very important. I also think it's important because people that don't have that part of it figured out, the rest of it doesn't matter
it
until you
doesn't matter.
can actually figure out how to acquire a client. Nothing else you do afterwards, any system, any process, no matter how many salespeople, if you can't attract people to at least the front door of your business, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
And here's what I would say prior to it. Even though we just said nothing matters until you figure out client acquisition. If you do not have a way to make business repeatable, or to make the client that you did acquire have such an amazing experience that they go out and bring you in, 2 to 4 more clients, it doesn't matter. Okay. So start there. And I don't care if you're somebody that is running a 7 and 8 figure business or you're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not get a good chunk of your business from existing clients, you are doing something way, way, way wrong. Okay. Because if I look at my stats, and this is since day one, I would say the majority of my business has always come from either people I have personally worked with in the past or people that have been 1 degree of separation away from people I've worked with.
Right.
Okay. And what that means is I make sure that when someone goes through my process, they have an incredible experience. Now, does it happen every single time? I wish. That's not reality. People make mistakes. My guys fuck up. I fuck up all the time. However, I will say that we have it dialed in where our goal, our aim is everybody that walks in, if we don't wow them enough to have 2 people follow through right after, like they don't send us 2 people, we drop the ball somewhere. So that's the metric I hold my team to and myself to.
Right.
All right. That's
Yeah.
huge because that's always going to be a big revenue generator, no matter how you prospect or bring in leads. All right. So let's
Yeah. I
start
mean,
with that as the base.
yeah. Yeah. And to your point, right? The wow factor is what's going to make client acquisition simpler,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because obviously everyone wants a client that we don't have to work for.
Yep.
Right? If they just walk in the door and they're pre-sold our businesses, they're pre-sold who we are, how we operate, what the expectation and the deliverables are, it's really us to fumble at that point and ruin that relationship.
Correct.
But even before that, you got to get the first client to get to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I'll speak kind of to my industry is like, you come into any kind of financial services world, I don't give a shit what aspect of it you go to, you're beating the shit out of your family tree for potential friends and clients, and you're cold calling the shit out of people and not being very truthful. Hey, Jonathan thought we would love to meet, and it'd be a great idea if you knew me and I knew you, and you're just at every angle trying to get yourself in that slivered little door. Reality is there's so many better ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it took me 7 years of beating my head against a cinder block wall to figure it out. And that's literally utilizing the tools that are free to us, which is social media and the internet. And finding a way not to be that guy who puts a sales pitch on every fucking post. Jesus, don't be that guy or gal. But find a way to tell a story and find a metric on how to post. And as well as I do, like, I post a few times a day in a certain way that allows people to know what I do professionally, but it's not overbearing. So I'll make one post about some kind of business entity-ish, whatever. It's all about business.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make one post about family or kids or something to let people inside my world as who I am outside of work. And then I'll post something smart-ass, comical, funny, something just completely off the wall that gets people talking.
Yep.
And I try to do that 3 times every single day, because we know that the business post doesn't get any interaction. They never do, right? And that's normal.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Alex Hormozy and you can make a post about anything and get 1 billion people to comment on it, right?
Correct.
But the reality is, when we start this, and I would be willing to bet that when he started posting, his was shit too, right? And you build up over time, and then you have a whole team of people videotaping you every day to do it for you. The reality is, come up with a system that you can post something unique about your business that's educational. Give the secret sauce away, whatever that may be. If you're in garage door installation company, video yourself on what to look out for at home. How do I tell if my springs are broken or need replaced? How do I know if the tracks are off or the sound should be? If you're that guy on, the internet putting out that, and I get to know, like, and trust you based on just repetition of seeing you, guess what happens? When my shit breaks or I see something that you posted, I'm calling you.
Yep.
Right? So that's one way that I started getting away from the cold calling and getting into that routine. And the second thing that I started doing with the internet is identifying people that I wanted as clients, right? Our dream client list, if you will. And then interacting with those people. Not cheesy. Don't be a cheese dick, right? But interact with their posts. If they post about something, throw in a comment. Hey, man, this was super helpful, or whatever the case is. But what will eventually start to happen is they will start interacting back with you, right? And then once that happens, the circle of client opportunity starts to present itself, right?
Yep.
So those are 2 huge takeaways that cost you 0 money, right, that you can go do today.
Yep.
What you got to be mindful of is the timing that you're posting, right?
Yep.
The algorithms of the Instagram and Facebook. And, you don't need to be a professional, but play with the times that you're posting. So for me,
Yep.
I like to post at 5 a.m. I'm East Coast, so I know that people are going to be waking up over the next 3 to 4 hours. And what's the first thing we do as humans when we wake up to hit that morning shit or in the shower?
Yep.
Fall into the scroll, baby. Fall into the scroll.
Yep.
Right? And so people start to see it and interact with it. And to me, that first post at 5 was like, hey, I'm awake. I'm up. I'm at the gym. Here's what I'm doing. And then people start commenting. And that's when I know that I'm working the algorithm in the right sequence, if you will.
Yep.
So I think those 2, that if you just take that away from this call or this podcast, that could be hugely impactful in your 2024 business.
Yeah.
And create a lot of money in your front door.
Yep.
Where have you seen the most success in kind of client acquisition and outside of your traditional marketing, if you will?
Well, I'll go partnerships, but before I go into partnerships, I want to kind of touch on what you said, because I get most of my business doing what you do. Okay. Couple things, guys. If you are struggling, like Keith gave you a lot of gold, and I'm going to go super high level on his gold. So if you are struggling to figure out what to post and Keith is telling you keep it simple, when I tell you to keep it simple, as simple as possible, okay? What you should really do is think about the top calls that you get if you're service based, or the top questions that always come up during every single sales cycle. And you should make videos on them and post them. Okay. Because if your clients have those questions, your future and potential clients definitely have those questions. All right. So if you have a list of top 10, could be top 20, top five, I don't give a shit. Okay. And you make a couple videos addressing each one over and over and over again, and then you post that, guess what? Now you're educating the client, you're entertaining them, and you're demonstrating that you're an expert. Okay. And that's all out there. And the people that interact with that should be your ideal clients. Second,
Yep.
when you're going for your quote unquote dream clients, the other thing that you're doing by interacting with their posts is you're training the algorithm. So while you interact with their stuff, they're going to start seeing more and more and more of your stuff. Okay. And that's why it's important, like he said, if you're going to do 4 posts a day, only one of them being about business, well, you can be super creative when it comes to that business post. Educate and then maybe leave a question so people interact with it. Okay. But by you doing that, you're training the algorithm and it's showing it to people that you want it to see. Okay. So make sure you're doing it and doing it the right way. And I'm going to tell you something. What I'm telling you and what Keith's telling you, 1000% work, but it doesn't work if you do it for a week and then just stop.
Right.
Okay. What I tell every single person in my office, I teach them how to do this. The challenge is a lot of times it'll take 3 to 6 months to actually start paying off. But when it starts paying off, as long as you keep doing it, it will build and build and build. Okay. It's like rolling a snowball down a mountain. Eventually, I mean, right now it's a snowball. It still needs your help. But as long as you're there to watch it and guide it and push it down when it gets stuck, it's going to accumulate speed and momentum and become a fucking avalanche. Well, the same thing's going to happen here, but you just have to keep posting. A lot of people, what happens is they do it once or twice and they're like, oh, this doesn't work. Keith doesn't know what he's talking about. Or Jonathan doesn't know what he's talking about. When in reality, you haven't done the thing long enough to actually get the result. So make sure you're staying on top of it. All right.
Yeah, repetition is key on any of this shit, right? I mean, fuck, dude, you don't go to the gym for 2 well, a lot of people are about to go to the gym for a couple days and then quit, but
Yeah.
they're special, right? They're the special ones. But the
You're not
reality
for
is,
us.
yeah, as with anything in good business, I mean, it takes repetition. It takes some time, effort, and energy, and then you have to manipulate it and change it up, right? Because it's not always going to be consistent.
Yep.
So,
And so I will go, the same thing that works to bring in business can also bring in referral partners. But one thing that people never really focus on in their business, and it drives me crazy, okay, is why aren't you actively prospecting for referral partners the same way you would actively prospect for clients? Okay. So, like for me, accountants are great. People that sell merchant services are great. Credit repair companies are great. Bookkeepers are great. Fractional CFOs are great. Or any influencer that deals with a lot of entrepreneurs. For me, those are ideal referral partners. Now, do I go and pull up a Yellow Pages or get a list and cold call them or even send them emails? Absolutely not. Why? Because I've built up enough of a base where I don't have to do that, nor should I, because most people are not going to match or even care about our core values. Okay, so I'm a little bit past that point in my entrepreneurial journey. However, I'm not above it. So what I do is I look for people that I know run a good company and actually have core values and care about their clients. And I want to make sure they're delivering a great product or service. Here's why. Because I know what my team brings to the table. And I never want there to be a disruption, meaning if I bring on referral partners and their clients are having a tough time dealing with them, it makes it awkward when they come to me to get financing because now I'm somebody they don't love to work with was referred to. So I always want to screen my partners. And if you can do it earlier on, great. I'm telling you, I couldn't, and I had to fire some partners. I had to terminate some partnerships along the way. But referral partners are a great way, but don't just ask them for referrals. You're doing it wrong. Okay, if there is not a win-win-win, which is one of our core values that you see on behind me, if there's not a win for them, a win for us, and a win for the client, I will not move forward. Okay, so if there's a way to make yourself valuable to a referral partnership or a referral relationship, you should lead with that. Okay, like, hey, listen, we're doing loans for these guys. You guys are doing payment processing for your guys. Why don't you give me all your loans, and I'll give you I'll give you a couple shots on some payment processing, and we see how it works out. Okay,
Yep.
that is a true win-win when you're looking to partner. If if you're not approaching it from that angle, you're probably going to get turned down more than you're going to get agreed to. All right.
Right.
So partnerships are a great way to bring in business, especially a low cost way to bring in business. Don't sleep
Yeah.
on that.
No, I use that method a lot, and so let's reverse engineer that just a little bit. Like when you're, well, who the fuck are my partners, right? Think about who your avatar is, who your client is, and all of the professions that that individual would need in their business, right? And day-to-day operation. So if it's a roofer, right? Who do roofers need? They need sales guys. They need the gaff guy who's helping bring the supplies. They need all these different individuals, CPAs. They need an accountant. They need a bookkeeper. Every person in their ecosystem that helps their world tick is a potential partner for you if you are focused on that niche of individual, right? If you only work with blue collar people and you're a roofing expert and you know everything about them, then you should go out and find everyone else that they deal with from a personal perspective and follow them on Facebook. Figure out who they are, how do they operate, who are they working with, right? Think outside the flipping box, dude. I remember some cheesy shit I used to do to be different, but it worked. I used to go buy baby shoes, right? I would buy cheap ass baby shoes from like Ross and all of these like places that are basically about to go in the garbage unless you buy the shit for $10, right?
Yeah.
But I would go buy them and I would write a letter just trying to get my foot in the door. And I'd put the letter in the shoe and I would send them and they would get a package with a shoe in it with a letter inside. And they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I've had people call me and say, hey man, this is the cheesiest shit you ever could have sent me. But the reality is it got me to call you.
Yep.
Right. So I would send them these shoes and be like, hey man, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. Would love 20 minutes on a call. And that's way better than trying to walk in and get shut down by the gatekeeper, right? Because Sally up front or Karen, whoever it is, Karen's probably going to tell you to get bent, right?
Yep.
But if you're, these were for like physicians. No one's getting to a physician by walking in or calling. So I would send these little packages, man, and it started steamrolling. And then I got into a couple physician groups by that, and then I became known as the guy who sends shoes in the mail.
Yeah.
In that whole ecosystem. But the reality is, the reason I say that story is not so you go, spend all your money on shoes, but you got to be different. You got to put yourself in a unique scenario where people could realize this guy's not the same run of the mill dude trying to sell me some bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. He's different. He cares about me and he's unique. So looking through the lens, like, have that same mentality when you're messaging people, when you're trying to do a little outreach. Don't just go into their inbox and say, hey, Jonathan, how are you today? And damn well, if Jonathan responds, I'm going in for the kill, right? That shit is old. We do not do that anymore, guys. I remember Andy Frisella having a story back, the MF CEO, right, podcast, where this kid showed up at his building every day for like 6 months straight, and Andy would walk by and be like, who the fuck is this guy? And like just repetition, and finally gave the kid a chance. And the kid won his business. But he showed up in 6 fucking months or whatever. It was a long time. I don't know. Don't quote me on the amount of time, but this kid put in the work. Right.
Yeah.
So it goes back to your thing. Like, this shit isn't an overnight success story. Your posts aren't going to go viral, the next day just because, unless you post some random ass shit that just happens to hit. But 99.9% of the time, it's a long haul game. I mean, it's
Yep.
4 or 5, 6 months or a year. I mean, I know people that have been doing it for several years who aren't always viral.
Yep.
You know,
Have you read Marketing Outrageously? Is that where you got that or no?
no, that's I've never even heard of that book.
You should. I thought you got it right from there, but that's a good book. So, guys, my question for Keith: there's a book called Marketing Outrageously, and this guy sold tickets by literally mailing out rubber fucking chickens. Okay, rubber chickens to everybody because it was a unique shaped package. So people are going to open it. It's not going to get thrown in the trash. It's actually probably going to go. The gatekeeper isn't going to open it. It looks like a gift. That's going to go directly to the decision maker.
Right.
Okay. So what Keith did with the shoes without reading that book is genius. And that is a way to think outside the box to obviously get in front of the right people. And if you do something that shows you took the extra effort, okay, because I am the worst about getting back to people with any type of pitch or anything. I don't even let it happen. But if somebody mailed me a shoe with a handwritten note, I'd call them back. Now that we got that one settled, that's a great way for the guys that want to spend a little bit of extra money but actually make a difference. I think that's fantastic. Here's the last one we're going to give you. And this has kind of been drawn out various different ways. But what I would do is write or come up with a guide or some type of information that's actually relevant and important. Okay. And I'll give you what we did and how it worked for us. But it actually has to be valuable information. Too many people are just writing some half a page or one pager or throwing some shit in Chat GPT. That's not what I'm talking about here. Okay. If you're going to throw it in Chat GPT or just mail it in, don't do it. But you want to create some type of information that is actually valuable to your ideal client. For me, what I did was an equipment financing guide. The reason why that's important is so many people don't understand how equipment financing works, what flies, what doesn't fly. And even the people that do want a way to get better equipment financing and they want to know all the ins and outs. And I wrote all that in a guide and basically gave it away for free. All they had to do was opt in. Okay. When they're opting in, I'm getting their name, phone, email, and now I can market to them via email. So any business, you're only as good as the data that you collect. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. That's the fucking truth. If you go to sell, you go to exit, and you don't have data or a way to continuously farm data and exist and keep your current records intact, your business is worthless. Okay.
Yeah.
So we did that to build a list to market to it. And most of the people were ready to apply for financing as soon as they got the guide either way. Okay. But that was a way that we were able to do that. And then once we realized it worked, we were able to put some ad spend behind it. And then we bumped it up using the ad spend, and it made a predictable way to bring in clients at a certain cost. Okay. Every single entrepreneur listening to this, there's something that you could write, something that you could do. And like Keith says, don't pretend like you're reinventing the wheel. None of the shit that you're doing, that I'm doing, that anyone's doing is original. So over deliver on the information. You're not giving away secret sauce. Educate them. And then I'm telling you, 99% of people, even if you showed them how to do exactly what they want, they're still going to come back to you so you can do it for them. All right.
That's right.
So do the same thing here and then make sure that you're constantly promoting it. It should be on your social profiles. It should be anywhere where you appear. All right. And then as you're posting, you should push people into that. Why? Because the more information you collect, the more potential future leads you collect, the more people you have the market to, the more business you're going to be able to do. Simple.
For sure. No, I think create something that you can give away for free, an ebook, something of that level, put it inside of a funnel, which is basically a fancy way of have them opt in so that you can collect their information for the future. Because you guys never know when someone could be a good fit and could not be a good fit. Just because today isn't the day doesn't mean that they don't need your services in April of next year, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just try to sell them today, close it because they didn't buy. You got to be able to drip campaign and do some direct response marketing in the future. So with that, think outside the box, put your words out there, make sure people know exactly what it is you do, be educational, give the game away. I don't give a shit if you would teach me how to replace my garage door. Let's go back to that example. I'm not fucking doing it. Right? So when my shit breaks, because you taught me how to do it, you probably get my phone call because I think that you're a good professional and you're the expert. So a lot of people like to keep that shit close knit, like, oh no, I can't tell you how I do it. Fuck that. Give it away. Let everyone know exactly what you do and how you do it. And the reality is they're going to come and ask you to do it for them. No one's got time to do the shit you do, or they would have the same job as you or profession. So with that, go market, post on Facebook, get vulnerable, go create some leads.
Dude, I love it. Great work, guys. You guys should listen to this 2 or 3 times because we gave you a lot and you guys think it's so simple that you're just going to look past it. But if you actually implement those 3 things and those 3 things alone, it could dramatically change how this year plays out for you. All right. Do us a favor, share this with someone that needs to hear it. That's all we care about is that you share the show. All right. We appreciate you guys and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you.